What's going on today, everybody? Welcome back to Fix It Garage, and not my garage. We're at my buddy's house, Bob's house again. We're gonna do some more work on the GTI. Today, we're gonna install something a bit odd for a car, but necessary once I explain why. We're gonna put a trailer hitch on this thing back in here. Here's the hitch. This guy over here just doing nothing. There's a trailer hitch. So why are we putting a trailer hitch on a hatchback? Well, this guy likes to ride those things. And he's about to head off to Lincoln for the Autocross National event, and he wants his bike because A, the event's so big that you need a bike, and B, he's gonna like road trip back home and ride his bike. So we're gonna put a hitch on so we can fit everything that he needs to fit in the car and then put the bike on the back. So that's why we're putting a hitch on it, even though it makes no sense putting hitches on hatchbacks.
It was this or the roof rack, and the roof rack's like 300 bucks more expensive, and I would need a new bike mount for it. And it's less aerodynamic.
All right, fine. It's still weird that's going on a hatchback, but it's for the right reason. So this should be a pretty easy install. We just gotta pull the bumper off and unbolt bumper bars and bolt things in. Should be fairly simple. So we're gonna go ahead and get started right away. The first thing that we're gonna need to do in order to do this is pop these taillights out. So in order to get this bumper to separate in here, we're gonna need these taillights out of the way. Also, if you don't want to damage them, it's always a great idea to pull them. Some cars, you can get away with leaving these in, and there's usually like screws down here. You'll pop a bunch of clips that go around and it'll come off. But to protect them, you can pull out the taillights and then you won't break them or scratch them, because when these pop, sometimes they'll go up and they'll scratch the crap out of the taillights. So let's put you guys on a tripod. Let's work on getting this rear bumper off.
So we're gonna start off with a little tip and trick that I found when pulling these taillights. Something that I'm gonna recommend doing is pulling the weather seal out before you try removing those trim panels, because with the weather seal out, it's right around where you need to stick the trim panel in order to remove those plastic trim pieces that cover the bolts for the taillights. Found that out through trial and error there, because that trim panel does have to come off and it pops off better from the inside edge towards the hole in the hatch. So pull off that weather seal and it makes it a lot easier to remove that trim panel. And once that's off, it's a couple Torx bits. Then you can just remove the taillight and unplug it.
All right, so we got taillights out. We just pulled that trim piece, which, as you guys heard me say, you just move this, makes that trim piece easier. 2 T25s and pull, and then use your man hands and unplug these connectors. Next, I've got my colleague over here. There are 3 little bolts here that he has to undo, but unfortunately the tire has to come off, so we're gonna jack the car up and pull the wheels. But yeah, there's 3 bolts there. There's gonna be 3 bolts over here, and probably some stuff underneath. So we're gonna go ahead and get this thing jacked up, and we will keep on pressing on with this bumper removal. Fair. All right, let's take a look at what we got done. So we got the lights out. We already went over that. down inside this wheel well, now that we can see, you can see that there are bolts here that we removed and one here, all T25s. There's one more T25 under here on both sides, and then a T15 clip thing that comes out from right there. So in theory, that should be everything. Now we can unclip this bumper, which are all clipped in along here. We can pop all these clips. You can see here's where the harness comes through. There'll be a plug down there somewhere for us to unplug on that side, and probably on this side as well. We'll have to unplug some harnesses, but otherwise this should be good to come off. So we're gonna go ahead, set you guys back up on a tripod, pop this bumper off. Bumpers off. That was way harder than what it needed to be. These clips here and here, that bumper holds on very, 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 very tight. So in case you're doing this yourself, be very careful around here. A trim tool might help with these. For here, you just have to stick your hand up behind and pop. There's really no other method to it. You might break one of these little tabs like that, but it's not the end of the world. The biggest thing is don't pull too hard, or you could actually crack the bumper in here, and then you're gonna have a really bad day. The only other thing that we need to remove now is we need to actually get this bumper off, but first we need to unplug this RFID sensor, which I'm gonna let somebody else unplug.
I'm helping.
Careful, careful, careful. Perfect.
Ta-da.
And for anyone who's wondering, that is a MOST network connector, which is a very, very, very tiny little wire in there. It's like a baby coax. Be very careful with those. If you break them, you can't fix them. You have to replace the whole harness. Ask me how I know. Working at Honda, very common problem. Be very careful with most networks. That connector feels a little more solid than the Honda ones. Now with that unplugged, we are free to remove the bumper. I am noticing right now, looking at it, the bumper also has the parking sensor brackets on it as well. If you look here and here, the parking sensors are there. So we have to be very careful when we remove this bumper to not misalign these parking sensors by letting them go all over the place and all wonky. So we have to be careful with that. But otherwise, this should be a pretty simple bumper to remove. So let's remove it. All right, the bumper is now out of the way. So now we have the task of putting on this hitch and this bumper, and they both bolt into the same holes. So we have to try to like line it all up. They give you longer bolts in the hardware kit, great. But like this is gonna be kind of an awkward thing to hold because we have to hold both of these, hold this bracket out of the way, and then manage to start one of the bolts on the bottom. So this is gonna be a fun little experience to see how well we can do it without dropping it on these big giant ass exhaust tips that are too big. Too big. I should not be able to. Ew, now my hand's dirty from exhaust.
Look, I can't. Maybe you should get bigger hands. And we'll be able to fist the
Hey, you see that? Yeah. I can put this on the internet still. All right. Okay, anyways, now that we're done arguing about that, let's put these two things on there. Yeah.
All right, so I just want to touch on real quick a little more of what is going on here. So we have to put the hitch behind the crash bumper, and now both of those things bolt into the same place. Well, what we did in order to make it a little bit easier is we installed the trailer hitch. I put one bolt in on my side with just the hitch, and then we put the crash bumper on, and Bob is going to install a bolt on his side, allowing me to remove my bolt, and that is only holding the hitch on, and then I will be able to put that bolt in through the bumper and the hitch at the same time, securing it to the car. We thought this would be a little bit easier than trying to hold both of those bumper and hitch on while holding the parking sensors out of the way. So that's kind of how we did it, just to explain it a little bit better on what's going on here. But it definitely worked out, and it made it super easy. As you can see here, he is helping me get that bolt out so I can put it back in, now holding on both pieces of the back of the car, the hitch and the bumper.
It's on. It's on. It's on. Hitch is on with the bumper. So far we haven't had to cut anything, which is great. We plugged back in our sensor. You can see we've got brand new shiny longer bolts here. We started a bolt for the hitch and on one side, and then we did a bolt through on this side that had the hitch and the bumper. Took the bolt back out, put these ones in, put those ones in. We torqued them to spec. Don't tell anybody at Volkswagen. Now we can take that bumper and we can throw it on. So this hitch will go through that hole there, hopefully. Worst case, might have to do a little bit of trimmy on that bumper piece, but fingers crossed, it just goes right on and we can be done. So next thing we need to do is we need to put the bumper back on so we can, get this thing done. bad news. We need to cut. So this hitch has to fit through this hole, and this hole is not actually centered on the bumper. This hitch is. So we need to cut out like a little here. So this and all of this will clear. That way then when this sits through, it'll stick out of here. So yeah, we got to cut a little bit out of here. So we're gonna have the expert do some plastics cutting.
Expert.
Cut plastic. Do we need to move? We can move this so it's a little easier to cut so you're not like...
Hey, you can just re-rotate it.
Skizzers and a razor blade are our preferred methods of cutting today. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that other than don't cut your fingers.
Don't cut your dick off, kids.
Thanks. Now we just got no money for this video. Thanks, dude.
But you said you're gonna get $1.50 anyways.
Yeah, but now we're talking about dicks. I can't get paid if we start talking about dicks.
You can't even collect your $1.50?
I won't be able to collect my $1.50.
Darn.
Hopefully they didn't hear you. That's the best. That's the only thing I can hope for. See how he is very careful here, making short stabs to not, cut off the fingers, the important things, the digits.
The digits, that's what I said. Don't cut your digits off.
Yeah, don't cut your digits off, kids.
All right.
Ooh, so exciting. All right, we have cut that little piece out. So now we're gonna test fit it again and maybe have to cut more off. But let's start with that. Hopefully this works. All right, so we had to make some more cuts, as you're seeing now and observing, because when it sits in there, it was rubbing on this, which is no-go. We don't want it to rub, plus if we cut out that little piece, it'll make it easier to install. Right now, putting it on is not the easiest thing to do. We run into some clearance issues, trying to fit it around the hitch and the exhaust tips. This could be solved if somebody had bought smaller exhaust tips, but we're not gonna have that argument again.
Exhaust tips clear just fine, all right?
They can't hear you. You're not mic'd up, so I don't care. He doesn't have a mic for a reason. That way he can't argue, and if he does, it's one-sided. But yeah, we're gonna let him sit here, and because it is his car, and I have complete faith in his ability to do something, we're gonna have him do the cutting, so when it looks like poop, it's not my fault.
That's fair.
His fault. All right, there's our little cut. Let's try and refit this bumper again. All right, we were putting in the taillights and we were having some fitment issues on his side. And he immediately went to go blame me. Well, it turns out there is a trick to installing these taillights that I happened to get really lucky in doing on my side and he missed. This clip is very important because it goes with this. When you install the taillight, you have to drop that piece down in there when you're lining it all up. Otherwise, if you don't, you'll have a really gnarly gap. But see how we dropped it in? Now the gap looks like it would from the factory, which is halfway decent but not perfect. But now the taillight is in correctly and there's not a huge gap. So something to keep in mind when you're doing these taillights, be very careful of that like front clip. Anyways, we're just about wrapped up here. All right, so let's take a look at what we just got done. The hitch is on and it's not very visible. It does look a little crooked. Oh, no, it doesn't. No, it's fine. He thought it was crooked. I thought it was crooked. You tell me in the comments, does that look crooked to you? Because to me, it looks fine. But look at that. We got our little hitch down here. And now it is ready for a bike'ems rack. So we can put a bike rack on here, which is over there. And then we can put a bike on it. We can kind of show you what it looks like with it on there. But otherwise, look at that. Trailer hitch. You can do that all yourself at home with some hand tools and a power tool helps. But T15, 13 millimeter, T25, and some plastic trim tools. That's literally all we use to take this thing apart. Very few tools to do this. Whoopsies, I hit some hub rings. We would not have to use my fancy tools that I have at work. It's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. So while he's putting on some wheels so we can set it back down on the ground, because I have to go mount some tires, that's a whole other problem that I'm not gonna involve you with. Don't race on your Continentals, in case you're wondering. Bad. On front-wheel drive cars, no Contis, bad idea. You can destroy them. But anyways, glossing over that. We're gonna get this thing back down on the ground, put a bike on it so you guys can just see how it's gonna look with a bike on there. And then it will be job done. Pretty simple install, took us like an hour, even with me trying to film and everything. Just over an hour to do, so it's not terrible. But I'll check back in with you guys once we have the bike rack on there. All right, you guys ready to see the finished result? It's right there. There it is. All right, so there's our hitch with the bike rack and the bike. As we can see, the bike has plenty of ground clearance here. It's got more than enough here. His bike rack is just in general a little sketchy, but he'll zip tie and bungee things so the bike won't, you know, swingy. But like overall, great setup. He's used the bike rack before, and it even has a little homage to, you know, some Dorito power, but not relevant. But yeah, overall, it fits really nice on there. Nice, easy little install, so now he can carry a bike, which means it will allow him to fit everything in the back of the car for when he goes to Lincoln for the Autocross Nationals, which unfortunately we will not be attending this year as it is too expensive. I don't have my own car to drive, and as much as I would love to drive this, I just don't have the time to go down to Lincoln with all the stuff going on in the background. So, but one of these years we will make it out to Lincoln and do the big autocross event out there, but he's gonna go, he's gonna have fun, and yeah, I'll link where he puts his videos in the description below so you guys can go see his autocross runs after he gets back from Lincoln. All right, so that is gonna do it for today's video. We got the hitch installed on his car, got him ready to go to Lincoln. Feel pretty good about that. Thank you guys for bearing with me during this time when I don't have my own shop to film my own content. I promise I have some other stuff coming up soon. We're working on trying to get the garage more usable, but we also have some projects that we can do outside. So we're getting there. Sorry, it's just been rough, but thank you guys all for sticking through me and supporting me through all the stuff that we have going on. That being said, be sure to go check out my live streams on Twitch and YouTube. Go give my Twitch a follow. It's completely free. You guys can watch in the background. We are like, at the time of recording, 12 away from hitting affiliate, which I'm super excited about. So go give that a little follow. It would be much appreciated if we could get us to 50 followers over on the Twitch side, but keep an eye out on those notifications for when I go live on Twitch and YouTube, usually 2 to 3 times a week, playing some video games, unwinding, answering your guys' questions over there that you guys may have or bring. So bring your questions, come hang out. We'll have a good time. But that is going to do it for today. I want to thank all of you guys for watching. As always, if you like what you saw, don't forget to smash the like button. Leave some comments down below and subscribe so you guys don't miss any future videos or any other content that I put out. And I will catch you guys all in the next video.